Hey everyone,
Welcome to Chicas and Chai. Thank you for joining us on our second episode. Last time we talked about being married, but I think the stories are very different. There's so much culture, big story for both of them. The walls we broke down in order to be where we are in our marriages. So, yeah.
I think that we've had such polar opposite stories, and it's been so interesting because we are the two people that have constantly gotten to see each other's relationships over time and our journey and what we were struggling to find in partners that we had prior to. And then we found our husbands. And my story, my husband and I were always joking about this. We had a hybrid marriage. I've had that sounds bad. I've had a few relationships. Definitely had like 4 or like 3 my entire life.
You had the normal amount for 30.
Like we're all a mess either way. But when I met him, I was still in a very confused space. We've kind of grown up seeing each other, knowing each other.
How long did y'all know each other? Because y'all knew each other.
7 to 10 years, I would say. Our families were family friends for a really long time. But he was off to school. I was off to school. Just never kind of worked out. But throughout the years, we kept in touch as well. We would text and talk and more of like a friendship level. Yeah. But just because of the timing and circumstances, things never really escalated. So then pandemic happened. We were both in the same place, same time, and things kind of slowed down. We ended up reconnecting. We started talking more romantically than we were on a normal basis. I was finishing up my last year of law school. I wasn't sure where that would take me. I didn't want to be bound down to having to then move back to Virginia. I made all this clear to him, and we kind of stopped talking for a little bit. Then we reconnected again and officially started dating. Then we got like religiously engaged. We had a roca.
Just to clarify, how long did you date him before you got engaged?
Like actual dating.
Actual dating. I'm your girlfriend. You're my boyfriend.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main part that I didn't understand when that happened. Did I even meet him when you told me, hey, I'm engaged to him?
You did right after. And I think that was a bit confusing for us because back in the day, Aroka, and I mean, I may be wrong, but from like my understanding of it, in a lot of parts of India and Pakistan and other cultures, you're not allowed to really date.
Almost discouraged to what date?
Yeah.
Like you have to be marrying this guy almost if you're going to be hanging out with him that much.
Right. I think that ceremony is like symbolism. Now you guys have like the parental freedom to kind of go date and do your thing.
This is what happened 2.5 months after you started dating.
Yeah.
Your parents basically said, hey, you guys have our permission.
No, but they already knew. They were so excited. The minute we started dating, they swore they were like planning our wedding.
Because clarification, they were besties, friends for so long.
Our parents were really good friends.
And then all of a sudden you guys connected, got together.
I was very hesitant when I first met my husband because I didn't really want to date because what if this falls apart? And then friendships are broken. Ultimately happen anyway, but that's a whole different story. I wasn't sure about myself.
Yeah.
I was figuring myself out.
I think you are someone that like, you are your culture, but you are also very modernized.
Yeah.
So I think you were battling that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I think it happened, right? You liked him.
I liked him. It took me time to get there.
Especially someone you saw as a friend for so long.
Yeah. And then February, he proposed to me with like a ring and whatnot. And then by April, we were married. But I think that was abnormal to so many of my friends. It's very normal in my culture for that to happen. It's something that maybe a lot of people do not get.
Yeah, and for clarity, I didn't get that. I was one of those friends that I was just really confused. I think I was just like, oh, huh?
It makes sense.
What?
Yeah, you were confused.
So confused.
And also like watching out for me. There are some crazy people out there.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about marriage. Wait, what's going on? You're going to marry him? Oh, I don't even know who he is. Not that she needs my approval. At that point, we were best friends still for like 10 years. And so I was like, oh, that's crazy. I mean, the way it happened.
It's very quick.
And I mean, it's a culture thing that people don't understand. But I love that, you did what was right. People don't need to understand.
I'm so grateful that I did, but it's so funny because it's a complete opposite of your story, how things are for you.
Yeah, I mean, me and my husband started dating in college and we were both really young. We were 21. Oh my gosh. I mean, we grew up together basically. And that comes with a lot of challenges. We dated for about 7 months before we got married.
Oh, no. We were together for 7 years before we got married, not 7 months. So for me, I think there was this subconscious thought that, wow, we've been dating for 7 years. is this too long? But now looking back, I am really glad that that happened. And I'm not just saying that because we were so young. So we had the wiggle room to date longer, to get to know each other longer, to just be young and not have that level of commitment of marriage, because marriage is a whole different ball game. It's not easy.
Everyone that's early 20s to mid 20s, like, no, like that's the time you don't even know who you are. You're learning about yourself. And so I felt like we definitely grew up together almost in a way. We were not the same people we were when we were 21. We have become very different people every other year or something. But we eventually moved in together before getting married. Yeah, it was a naughty thing to do. I grew up Catholic, and so in the Catholic world, you do not move in with your partner.
Was that really hard for you? Like to kind of...
I feel like it was, but it wasn't, because I feel like I've just kind of have always done whatever I felt like,
But did you have like emotional
guilt
and like baggage and like thinking about like I'm doing something that maybe my family or people around
see
me
wrong?
Don't agree with,
or like a sin. It's a sin.
Yeah, a sin.
Everything is a sin. Yes, I did feel like that. But we made a collective decision that we wanted to move in before we got married. And so he proposed to me in December, and then that following January we moved in, but we lived together without being married for like 2 years or so. I know that my family had, and I'm saying family,
loosely,
like you loosely kind of saying like, there's like hesitation because you're scared that you're going to move in with this person and things are going to get comfortable and, you're not married. People are scared that it's not going to happen.
Yeah. They have a lot of reservations.
Yeah. And I think I just made things super clear, and he wanted to get married too. It's not like he didn't. I think we just were like, all right, we're not going to rush into it just because everybody wants it for us. Yeah. And so we moved in together for a while. And so my mom was never making me feel bad about it. But I knew that it was something that bothered people. Like there's a word for it in Spanish. If there's someone that you're like, this person lives with that person, like they're just together.
Stigma.
To belittle people who are together, but they're like not married.
Like how they say in India and Pakistan, they're in a live-in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think the word is juntados or rejuntados, something like that. And so, you're subconsciously thinking of that. But like, I was confident, and I'm really glad, because it's like, you want to be able to know the person you live with. And now looking back, I've had conversations with my mom, and my mom's like, no, yeah, I see why you do those things.
Yeah. I love that. She's so supportive. I love that for you. What's interesting is, although our stories are so different, I still sense so much similarities in our culture. Even within ourselves, my husband wanted me to move in, and I was like, I'm not going to live with you until there's some form of commitment.
I advocate for that form of commitment, like ladies or men. I just think there needs to be some form of commitment. Yeah. Like if you're moving in and having that type of commitment, there should be another form of, hey, I'm serious with you. I'm not just doing this with you because it's financially easier for me, or it's just like fun. Like, I don't know. If you're into the idea of wanting to get married, if you're not, then do you. Yeah. But if you want to get married, that person, if that person can sign a lease with you, share credit score, whatever, they can make some form of commitment that will make you feel and kind of solidify things a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm sure maybe other people are fine with that, but just not me. Again, like the culture, how I was raised. Yeah. There needs to be some kind of marital label to this relationship.
Exactly. Like we're taking that step.
Yeah, exactly.
There needs to be a step to this. Exactly. Yeah. And I think proposals, like being engaged, that's like a big form of commitment. Yeah. I mean, it's not being married, but you're committed.
When you're living together, you're married, you get to learn so much. And same thing, my first 1 to 3 years of marriage, my husband and I have grown so much together because we did not get much time at all. Yeah. Contrary to you guys who had a lot of time prior to your marriage. The first year of our marriage was very rocky because we were two people getting to know each other. There was so much pressure. A lot of it was external pressure. A big reason as to why we moved out of here, to just focus on each other. And I feel like our relationship's never been better.
And I think that's another way that we have created our own path and broken down barriers, figuratively and literally, and just do what we got to do.
Yeah.
There's so many barriers to break, and it's not easy because you have to remember who you are in your traditions, but also let me do it differently. So it's like always a spin.
And it's always also not even just your culture, your family. It's also then the pressures of your friends. How are you going to this like arranged marriage? It's not an arranged marriage.
You knew him.
Yeah.
You decide.
And we got to date and spend time. Even then having to fight modern contemporary culture, people that we associate with telling us that, oh, like, how can you do this?
Exactly. And I think that's the main thing.
It's so hard to like fight both these sides. Like, it was very difficult for me.
Well, I'm glad you didn't listen to people. Yeah. We both did similar things, but way different.
Being married is a whole commitment. It's a whole different level of commitment. And if you take it serious, then it's not going to be easy, I think. And so I'm glad we did it this way. So, you know, hearing you, I hear, you know, people were questioning why you were getting married so fast. And if you get married so fast, you get questioned. And if you get married and take a long time, like 7 years, you also get questioned. And so, yeah, I think that at the end of the day, you have to decide your own situation. And I think that, sure, for example, if I had been with Bijan, if we had met at 28 and we were together for 7 years, I mean, honestly, even that was great because 28, you're still young. But I guess let's pretend that we just met and I'm 31 and, you know, taking 7 years to get married, like to me, that would have been ridiculous now because I know what I want. We're old enough. He should know what he wants. So we're doing this or we're not doing this. I'm not going to spend 7 years and see what happens. So there isn't enough wiggle room right now. I think I would have definitely, and I think he would have definitely wanted to get married sooner. And there would have been more of a urgency to do that versus back then, because like I said, we met when we were 21. So there wasn't this, oh, well, we need to get married really soon or any time in the near future. However, I had that in mind at the very beginning of our relationship because in kind of my culture, there was this thing where you have to get married, like you get married at an early age. So I did think I was going to get married when I was in high school. I thought I was going to get married at 21 and have children at 23.
Oh my God. I honestly, growing up, had the same exact timeline for myself, dude. I kid you not. And it's interesting because in my culture, it's also a thing, you know, where people get married at a younger age. But I personally could have never had a kid at 23.
23? Like I was a kid. I truly feel like I was so young and I loved myself then. But there was so many things that I hadn't gone through that I'm even going through now. Like I've started this process of healing in the last 2 years, and it really has cultivated the way that I can show up as a wife. And I do feel like you need these things before or at a point where you are able to be mature. Like I think I was mature for a 23-year-old, but I definitely needed some healing to have kids. And, you know, and yeah, I think that at the end of the day, I'm really glad that it turned out the way it did.
Yes, yes. I couldn't agree with you anymore. So I honestly feel like, look, marriage is beautiful. It's a joyous journey if done with the right partner. It really does essentially feel as though you're having a sleepover with your best friend every day. But it's also really challenging because you have such a shift in your identity from an individual to then someone's partner, learning to function as a unit and what that means. And you kind of break down who you are and redefine yourself. And then if you choose to have children, there's a whole new version of you that comes out. So, you know, for men and women, there's a huge shift in this identity and kind of figuring out who you are. And, you know, marriage is a whole different episode, like actual marriage and like all of these things that come along with it. There's so much to discuss. But kind of circling back to the overarching theme of this episode, I do want to note that growing up and being born and raised in America, my husband and I, we talk about this. We definitely always thought that we envisioned having a path, or we thought that our path to marriage would look a lot more similar to you and your husband's, right? Where you dated for a while, met in school, then got engaged, then got married, took your sweet time. But our route was a bit more fast and traditional. So I think that we are really, really happy where we landed and how we got here. But it's something that I always used to kind of hesitate even telling people because I just felt like it was so unmodern of me, but I'm really learning to just kind of let that idea go, which is why I'm even talking about this on such a public forum. But it's just interesting because I think that it's really beautiful to see that your journeys can end up being so different and you still get to where you want in a very happy, healthy, loving marriage. And that's the point. Like, you can get to your destination in two different ways.
Exactly. Different than, your mom probably, right? Things happen differently. Different than my mom. Like, there's just so many things that we are doing differently. And not that they did anything wrong, but just being in modern day, we just had to pivot and we had to make things work.
And maybe for them, they were breaking their barriers.
And we can continue talking about this forever, honestly. I know that this resonates with me as a non-South Asian woman, like just hearing you. It resonates with me because of how you have broken barriers and fought for your own self. So it's like, man, that's really cool that we've both kind of come in full circle.
I know.
I love that for us, but yeah.
And you have too, like with, you said it with your family and the religious pressures to live together. And then you guys were also living together during a very difficult time, right? When you moved in, the pandemic happened, and you guys really testament to your relationship.
We moved in together in a place where we had no family. We knew a few people, but it was just us two, and we had just moved and we had just got engaged. And then we had the pandemic happen, and that's a whole different story, and it's so crazy. But
I know.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We really like sharing these things and just, hearing each other, because it's nice to talk about it with you, which we talk about things all the time. But and we will see y'all next time.
Yeah, stay tuned for more.